Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, October 26th, 2020. Our solar wind speeds are coming in at 557.7 kilometers per second with a density of 4.8. Right now, we are looking at AR 2776. It is exiting to our western limb, but check out directly Earth-facing in the southern range, and you will see the emergence of a new sunspot. It is not yet numbered, but if it does become numbered, which we think it will, it is going to be AR 2778. A sunspot has just materialized in the sun's southern hemisphere, and it's a big one. So the grouping number on this could be the biggest so far of its cycle. And we were just talking about how we were not expecting a lot of activity from the sun over the next several days from our last broadcast, which was on the 21st. But there are some significant stories that we're going to be covering tonight since all the coronal holes and the G1 storms that we've had. We've had a couple different events, and it has definitely affected seismic activity, volcanic activity. So we will get into that as well, but let's continue on with our stats. Our KP indices right now sitting at a 3 with a 24-hour max at a 4. Now, we have not hit storm conditions yet today. We did over the weekend, but there is still time for a slight chance for a G1 storm tonight, possibly. We're going to get close. Our TCI, that's the Thermosphere Climate Index, that's went up a little bit, and that's because of all the solar wind that we've had on the magnetic field. It went up from 4.80 to today it's at 5.20. And that is definitely everything to do with solar wind affecting magnetic field. Every time we get bombarded with high solar wind speeds, we see the TCI edge up a little bit. Now, the reason why it jumped up so much now is that we've had quite a bit of coronal holes affecting Earth's magnetic field, so we've had a bombardment of solar wind over the past several days. But right now, AR 2778 is in the southern hemisphere. It is looking to be a pretty big one, and it could be the biggest sunspot of solar cycle 25. So we'll continue to monitor that and update when suitable. Cosmic radiation is down to 8.6%. We've been reporting on cosmic rays back in January. We were in the 11% range. And then as we got into spring, it started to die down in the high 10.7 range. And then here lately, it's been bouncing back and forth between 8.6 and 10. And folks, that's still very high. I mean, let's be correct on this. The max record is 11.7% as far as radiation dosage in the atmosphere, and the least amount is negative 32.1%. So we're still in the very high range. Long way to go before we can say our atmosphere is free without cosmic radiation, which at this rate still a pretty strong presence in our atmosphere as we roll towards the next week max of our cycle here in 25, I should say. All right, let's go over to thegrandsolarminimum.com, take a look at some space weather stats. As I said, KP indices have not gotten above 4. There's still a slight chance for a possibility for a G1. We did not have one on Sunday, but we did have minor G1 storms Friday night, Saturday, somewhere in that time frame. And like I said, I feel like that some of the stuff that I'm reporting on tonight has every bit of relevance to what's happening. And I kind of warned about this too. The earthquake, watch for 6.5 or higher. Not quite a 6.5 on some of the stuff, but still strong quakes and stuff to report on tonight. Let's take a little bit closer look at this AR 2778. Guys, it develops pretty rapidly. Let's take a quick look at it here. As you can see here on the 193 angstrom, and just suddenly a release here. And next thing you know, we have our next big sunspot here, AR 2778. And if you look at this chart here as well, you can see the activity is starting to increase. It's ticking up just a little bit. We've been observing minimum conditions for a long time. In July, we thought maybe the sun was definitely waking up, but we have noticed a little bit more activity on the sun as far as sunspots, CMEs, coronal holes. We've had a few more G1 level storms. Now, again, the fact that we're still dealing with G1 geomagnetic storms tells me we're still in minimum conditions. When you're close to your maximum, you're going to see more G4 and G5 and higher storms. So right now, we're still floating at the bottom, minimum type conditions still to report. But let's look at the big picture here. We've got a lot of activity on the backside of the sun right now. Along with AR 2778, there's a couple of bright regions that could rival AR 2778 just by looking at this now. Now, we've seen these before, bright, big in that region. -90 is the eastern limb, and then we're almost on the backside of our star. So we've seen these active regions actually kind of digress as they got to the eastern limb. I don't know if that's going to be the case on these up here. They're all located pretty strongly in the solar cycle 25 positioning, then the north and the south. And again, it was only a matter of time before we started seeing more action from our star. Nothing major, just typical sunspots that you see during an exiting part of a minimum. These are still weak, small sunspots. I mean, this current one we're talking about that's passing on the northwestern or the southwestern limb right now, AR 2776, that's only a grouping of 11. That's really small, really small. But this new one here, AR 2778, looks like it could pose a risk as far as getting bigger and being a strong sunspot as it heads towards the western limb of our star. So what is relevant to what I was talking about last week with the coronal holes and how I said it would affect? Well, it did. And here's a couple of headlines. This is from October 23rd, the day after we broadcasted. Ash emissions at Etna volcano disrupts flights at Catania International Airport here in Italy. Explosive activity was accompanied by significant ash emissions. It started on Etna's new southeast crater shortly before 600 UTC on Friday, October 21st. And I do believe actually we were on the air Wednesday was our last show. The aviation color code was raised to red at 5:53 UTC and lowered back to orange just a few hours later at 8:36. Now, the ash plume only rose to about 8,000 feet. And I say only because usually that's nothing too significant when you're talking about something under 10, 15, 20,000 feet. 30,000 feet and up, that starts to get interesting, but we all know where it starts affecting atmosphere, or climate, I should say, and that's right around the 55,000 feet range in the atmosphere as far as affecting climate. And then the bigger it gets, well, the more regions it covers in climate. Just because it hits 55,000 feet doesn't mean it affects the global climate. However, the larger the ash explosion, the bigger chances of more areas can be affected. And we all know about Tambora in 1815, ash cloud of 122,000 feet. And that created what we all know in 1816 as the year without a summer for the Northeast. So, again, nothing significant, but definitely, 48 hours after our broadcast, we started getting reports of upticks of volcanic action. And then today, flows here at Cinnabung volcano, evacuations have been ordered. Pyroclastic flows with side distance of a mile to about a mile and a half were observed at Cinnabung volcano on Sunday, October 25th, prompting authorities to evacuate nearby. Remember, Saturday, we had the G1 storm. And this also prompted evacuations. Now, this one was a little bit more substantial than the first one that we just reported on. So the first volcanic explosion kind of weak. This one a little bit more active. And we also saw evacuations that were issued for this explosion. And then this caught my eye. This was on October 24th. This came out on Watchers. Shallow earthquakes form under Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. Now I can go look at the USGS right now, and I can tell you that I noticed some earthquakes today in Hawaii, 2.5s. Yep, Pahala, Hawaii, 2.1. But we've had quite a bit in Pahala, 2.2. Then it says volcano 2.0. This is today. So Alaska and Hawaii have been very active with some aftershocks. Now, Alaska, we had a 7.5. And that was also after a couple of days of experiencing a coronal hole Earth facing. So we've seen some activity for sure over the last week, like we thought we would see back on Wednesday, the 21st. And the point of bringing all this up tonight is to show you the correlation of the sun and what it does to our planet and how it affects us. But Kilauea, you guys probably remember when Kilauea went off in 17 in, or was it 18? That was all blur that year. This lasted for several weeks. By the way, last time this had went off, I believe, 2018. This is not unusual, though. We've seen Kilauea do this before. I think the last was between 69 and 74 when it was continuously erupting. So Kilauea, again, this is the second time I've noticed activity there with earthquakes near the volcano in recent months. And then we had the 6.1 earthquake on the 23rd, which was a couple days after I issued the 48 to 72 hour watch. Now, again, I said 6.5 or higher, but the point I'm trying to make here, we got the 6.1, and then the same day we had another 6.0. So we didn't get the 6.5 or higher those days, but we got two strong earthquakes at 6 point. Thankfully, nothing has indicated that there was any death or injury from these earthquakes as they were away from land. So that is the good news. I'm sure there were some tsunami worries, as like I said, we had the 7.5 in Alaska not too long ago here. So there was definitely some concern. All right, so that's our little lesson there. We were talking about solar activity, coronal holes, how they affect the magnetic field on Wednesday. And we had a handful of headlines just since our last show on earthquakes of 6 point or higher and volcanic activity. Nothing major, but definitely a little bit more uptick in activity. So let's get on to the tropics. Tropical storm Zeta forms in the Caribbean. This was yesterday. Now they're talking this thing is going to be a hurricane. This is the 27th named storm of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season and is the earliest forming 27th storm on record. The previous record for the earliest 27th, the storm formation was November 29th, 2005. Guys, think about that for a minute. All year long, we have been seeing records being broke. Earliest storm on record. Each month, it's been a month early. very significant season this year, guys, rivaling the 2005 all the way down to the amount of storms, except I believe that we'll probably see a couple more, and we will break these records. This cycle is definitely proving to be a little bit more active than the last one in 2005. But just interesting information too, because I'm not done with Zeta, and I'll get back to Zeta or Zeta. I don't know what we call it here. We'll call it Zeta. How about that? We'll be different. Maybe we're not different. Bitter cold obliterates records in western U.S. as storm dumps snow and ice. Yeah, snow and ice. Today, it has been brutally cold. I was actually watching football Sunday and saw a game in Denver with snow on the ground. And in the first half, it was blizzard-like conditions. And I thought to myself, when's the last time you saw a football game with snow in it in October? And I'm going to have to dig for that stat. But it is definitely early to see that kind of action for snow games. We rarely get the pleasure of watching them. I've noticed few and few snow games. Now, when we get in the playoffs, there's a couple games that have some weather, but this one here definitely takes a cake. It was nice to enjoy it. Definitely don't want to be in that cold just yet. Look, I can already feel the drop, and we're just right now in the temperatures in the 40s. I'm not ready for the cold. I could feel it already. It's going to be cold this year. But looking at these pictures, you would thought we were in December. Snowfall totals from the storm ranged about 5 to 25 inches, spanned from Washington down to New Mexico. For cities, the single storm snowfall pushed the monthly totals over the edge and led to several broken records. According to the National Weather Service in Great Falls, Montana, the city shattered its October snowfall record with nearly 28 inches accumulated over the span of only 9 days. 9 days, folks, compared to the record that was set in 1925. That was the all-time amount, 18.5 inches set back in 1925. Folks, that is a atmosphere that is full of highly charged particles, cosmic radiation. We crushed that record from over almost 100 years ago by 10 inches of snow. That is 100% proof of these highly charged particles that are in our atmosphere dumping these large snowfall events in 9 days too, guys, in October. So not only was it weird to watch a football game on an October afternoon with the field covered, 17 degrees in October. Yes, it was Denver, but still. Denver, Colorado has had some, last winter, we struggled to see cold temperatures until what, December? I mean, it was hot. It was hot there this year. Of course, we saw that 90-degree day drop down into the 30s for snow in 48 hours already. So add this to 2020's weird events, I guess, for Denver, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Snow in October, big deal, right? But no, this record here in Montana is shattered by 10 inches, guys. Usually when you break records that are over 100 years old, you tend to break them by like an inch or two or maybe 5. 6 is great. That's a big time. 10 inches is a pretty big number for this time of the season. And to break that record is just, wow, it smashes for sure. Precipitation fell so heavily that more than 24 airports reported thunder along with falling snow. We know there was a Jim Cantori moment for someone out there. And freezing rain in the 3-hour time span early Monday, according to AccuWeather Service editor Jesse Farrell. On top of the record-breaking snow in many areas felt teeth-chattering cold, with temperatures falling well below previous record thresholds. The lowest reading of the weekend came from Potomac, Montana, which dipped all the way down to minus 29 degrees. Yeah. A photo posted on Twitter in Missoula office showed a negative 29.2 degree reading. That is just insane. Also, Montana recorded a low temperature of 5 was recorded in Billings Sunday, breaking previous daily record from 18 degrees in 1997. The mercury in Glasgow, Montana plummeted to -2 on Monday morning, shattering the old daily low record of 2 degrees. I think they might have messed that one up a little bit. West Yellowstone also plunged to -22 on Monday morning. Let's look at some of these snow reports since Sunday. Hello, Alamo, Colorado, 23 inches of snow. Centennial, Wyoming, 22 inches, along with Muleshoe, Colorado, 22. Forbes Park, Colorado, with 21 inches. And Gould, Colorado, coming in at 20 inches. Guys, I got to remind you, we are still in October. Again, I get it. Colorado, the Rockies. Okay, sure, it gets cold. But 20 inches of snow this early? I don't think so. Very, very, very cold temperatures. Now, we're still dealing with this weather system as well, and I'll go over that in the GFS report. But I also want to show you what they're thinking about Zeta. That's right, Zeta, or Zeta, however you want to say it. Wednesday through Thursday, this is our rain map. This is the outlook. And they're thinking that this storm could combine with unseasonably colder air later in this week and could create situations that could see a possible nor'easter type situation here by Friday. So keep your eyes out for that. Depends on how cold we get. I have seen them change the forecast here in the area where I live, here in upstate New York, and they've already changed the low temperature by 10 degrees already. We're talking 20 degrees when they once said 31 degrees just 2 days ago. So it really depends on the timing of this cold air and this moisture when it gets here. We could have a pretty big situation as far as storm when it comes to this weekend. Now, let's take a look at our 3-day forecast here. Check it out here at NOAA. Beautiful clouds. Believe it or not, we're talking about freezing rain across the southwestern plain states, snow falling, Kansas, parts of Colorado, heaviest snow in New Mexico. Hello, Richard. Watch out there, buddy. And then, of course, rain across the Midwestern plain states into the Ohio Valley, all the way up into the Northeast, and Maine experiencing some frozen precip as well. Let's take a look at what we're expecting for Tuesday. And believe it or not, the southwestern plain states, more of the same. Hello, Richard. Watch out for that snow again. Heaviest in central and eastern New Mexico. Meanwhile, just possible freezing rain and sleet throughout the Panhandle. Amarillo, watch out. Oklahoma also experiencing some freezing rain and some light showers along the Gulf Coast, and some moderate to light rain in the Ohio Valley as well. Dry for you in the Northeast. Also, a little bit of snowfall in North Dakota and Minnesota. And by the time we get to midweek, Wednesday, already the middle of the week, it feels like that this weather system here in the southwestern plains is just stalled out completely. And that cold air that broke all those records in Montana has plunged so far south and is that strong that it is causing this very early icing snow situation for places like Oklahoma, the Panhandle, Amarillo, Texas, and now most of Kansas with snow possibly in the far northwestern corner into Colorado as well. So for 3 days straight, we're looking at a winter wonderland scenario. And then we got to deal with Zeta or Zeta, whatever you want to call it. It's up to you. I'll let you decide. But no, we got to deal with that storm next. And if you guys look up above, I'll show you with my handy dandy arrow. Here we go. There's the cold front that could be in place in the Northeast by the time Zeta combines with this system. I mean, this is just whack. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's go over to the GFS here at Tropical Tidbits. All right, so that's our system right now that you're looking at. This is Tuesday overnight tonight into Tuesday morning. That system taking its sweet old time and then just reemerges by Tuesday morning. It gets stronger, just like we showed you on the NOAA Outlook. Zeta is approaching the Gulf. And guys, again, this high pressure and that low from the Gulf, it's almost like it's wedged in between two systems, and that's why it does not move for the next 2 days. Finally, by Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures start to come back up again, and here comes Zeta, however you want to pronounce it. That's totally up to you. Again, it's your choice. It's a free country. But anyway, coming up the Gulf Coast, going into the Tennessee Valley, lots of moisture for Thursday. Super soaker event possibly through the south. And that high pressure in the north trying to push down into the northeast. And right now, it's not winning because of the momentum of this storm coming into Friday. But as we get into the overnight hours of Friday, in North Country, New York, we start to see snow, Vermont, New Hampshire, parts of Maine. And boy, this thing is right off the coast. And that cold air is finally penetrating the region. But there could be a quick burst of snow in the Berkshires, Massachusetts, and upstate near the capital region in north. A quick 1 to 3 inches could be possible. This is Friday night into Saturday. We will pay attention to this system because it has the potential, if it tracks just a little bit further west, of being a pretty significant nor'easter situation. And then, like we showed on Wednesday last week, high pressure is really just here to dominate after trick or treat. I mean, guys, seriously, we said November 4th was when the next major system was going to affect the United States. Guess what? The GFS is pretty much holding steady that by the time we get to November 2nd, high pressure is so dominating in the United States that we don't see any bet of weather until the northeast on November 2nd, the day before election. And look at this, election day. Here is your official election day in the northeast. It's going to be cold, colder than usual, but dry. The rest of the country, no excuse not to go out and vote, folks. Look at that. Nothing on the map. Just like our forecast on the 21st. GFS is holding steady. That high pressure is dominating. I mean dominating, folks. Well into November 4th, into the 5th, and finally, by the 6th, we see a system beginning to develop. Not a very strong one, but we're watching the Atlantic and the tropics once again. Could that be record-breaking 28 right there on November 7th? Election surprise? Again, look at this system. Very, very, very interesting here, folks. That cold air comes in right after this storm, too, in the northeast. I'd still say, let's watch this. Some scary-looking stuff here, folks, for the first week. I mean, this is going to, wow. Just by looking at the isobars here, this is going to wreak havoc. New York City, New Jersey. Wow. I mean, this is going to be a very impactful storm. So we'll see if this thing holds up. This is still far away out. We're talking November 8th and 9th, 7th through the 9th. And then it gets quiet again. But I think we're starting to see more winter cold air moving in, too, by right before the middle of November. So it's like we're getting a little bit of a break, but we're getting smacked really hard by a big system. Here's the big one now. That's gone. Dry for several days, and then here comes a massive system out of the tropics combining with a cold front that's not going to really do anything according to this forecast right here, but it goes further in where this system will move inland and just be a huge mess. That one's going to be something to watch, folks. That could be a big one. That could be a record 28th hurricane. Wow. Definitely want to keep tuned in for that. Now let's look at temperatures. There's that cold air that we're experiencing in the west. in the Mountain West, look at that. Still here with us. This is Tuesday. Much of the country feeling this winter chill. Most of the country staying in the 50s and 40s, 30s overnight lows. Nothing horrible. Temperatures are pretty average right now, too. A little bit colder in the Northeast than the Northern Plains states. But for the rest of the U.S., it feels pretty much normal. Maybe a little bit chillier in the Ohio Valley as well, too. But low 50s by the beginning of November is not entirely too much chilly. We see a little bit of a warm up in the first part of November for the South and the Ohio Valley into the Northeast 60s. That's your warm up. And then you see that dip in the jet stream. But again, high pressure dominates all the way up until this storm that approaches from the Atlantic. And then we get another sharp cold front to move across the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. And you could see it, guys, in the far northern part of our maps. This colder air is starting to make a further push south and then retreating not that much. And each time it advances, it doesn't pull back that far. So that's November 11th. Again, this is 16 days out. That's nothing to really rely on. I really don't use this past the 8th day, 7th or 8th day of the forecast. But it is interesting because two things. The GFS, over a week now, has kept faithful to the forecast of possible snow by the 30th or the 31st. That's the first thing in the Northeast, all right? And this storm system. The GFS was flashing this weeks ago. And here it is. And also the fact that for the past 10 days, the GFS has held on to the idea that after this storm, we are looking at high pressure dominating the United States all the way to the 7th of November. Well, the 6th, when we get our first cold front to move through again in the Northeast, bringing some moisture with it, and then some. Possibly a pretty big storm event happening on the East Coast by the weekend, the first weekend of November 8th, that is. Actually, that's the second Sunday. November 1st, I think, is Sunday. Yeah, okay. But anyway, a couple of interesting systems to keep an eye on here in the U.S., but after that, again, more dry weather to follow. So we'll see how this kind of, shapes out here. We are entering our monsoon rainy season down there in the Southwest, so don't be alarmed. Or wait, is that over? No, I think November, it ends in November or starts, one of the two. I'll figure it out, guys, I promise. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at, one other thing too. I don't know, and thanks to Matt Bros, my farmer friend out in Nebraska, but he messaged me the other day about stock prices. And we've all heard about what a great plant season we've had this year and what a great harvest season we've seen so far this year. But the interesting thing is that the corn, soybean, and others, prices are up. Now, during harvest, prices are usually down big time. It's harvest, right? Cheaper prices on everything. Folks, it's not just the crops that are, we're seeing this all across the board when it comes to anything agriculture. Prices were supposed to come down in a few other markets, and they didn't. Not even during harvest. Now, what does that mean? Matt broke it down for me, thankfully, and that's why I love the people in this community. But Matt helped me out with this. If we're dealing with high prices during harvest, then we don't have that big supply like we're being told we do. That it could be an indication of that. And that's a logic indication, if you ask me. But it made me think. And you hear about the president of the United States, who I've seen him in a couple rallies lately, bragging to farmers about how much money that he has gotten the farmers. The number is now $28 billion. I heard $13 billion when the actual bill was signed. Now it's $28 billion. And But is that a good thing? If that money is actually coming from China buying at high prices because supply is low. So I think it's misleading when you hear that the farmers are going to be happy, and they are happy right now with prices like that. Don't get me wrong. But what's really going on? Why are they so high during harvest? Is there a reason to be spooked, worried? I hope not. I just looked in the chat. Veg says, "What? Our government is lying to us?" I'm afraid so. It doesn't matter who you follow. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. You know there's clowns on both sides. I mean, come on. You guys are all intelligent here to know that both sides suck. You know, it doesn't matter who you support or who you're going to vote for. It doesn't matter to me, but get out and vote for sure. Everybody. And yeah. So I want to say hello to a few people. Oh, wait, you know what? Actually, before we do that, snowfall. If you're wondering, for October into November, not a lot. In fact, that storm in the southwest is going to be the most snow we're going to see. And GFS is just not buying the heavy snowfall of that possible, what could look like a nor'easter by November 11th. This is still young. We have plenty of days to keep track of this and see what happens. But right now, it doesn't look like that, we're not looking at any more major record breaking except for what we're looking at here in the plains, Southwest Plain states. So let's take a quick look over here for our friends in the European nations, UK. Hello out there to all of you fine folks, Starman, and others alike. Henrik from Denmark. Hello, hello, hello. All right, so we've got weather here. This is Tuesday, and it's pretty much the same pattern we were talking about last Wednesday. More rain for the UK. More rain for Europe. More rain by the 30th. There's two systems. There's system number 3 by Halloween, trick or treat. Another system by the 1st. This is all UK, by the way. And the 3rd, it's going to rain. And high pressure trying to stick around for a couple of days. You're not going to get the U.S. treatment, though. And then more rain eventually moves back. Actually, you guys need about a 4-day break before more showers move in across the region on the 8th. And then more snow to the north, Norway, and more rain to the UK. So really a very active pattern here for you folks. Let's see what our temperatures are going to look like during this period of time as well. That's not what I want. That's November 11th. Looks pretty much like the U.S. does. Maybe a little bit more milder. Here we go. Tuesday, fall. Very nice in France and Spain, Portugal. Very nice. Italy, nice. But you can see in northern Italy, in the Alps, getting colder. One more warm wave come through by November 2nd. That cold front pushes in, and we start to see more seasonable temperatures for this region starting around November 3rd. And their brief warm-up is just really 50s and maybe low 60s in some areas. But the UK is settling down. Looks like it's going to get raw and chilly in your region. And we're starting to see a lot more freezing temperatures, too, across Europe and France, Germany, and other areas in Italy. And again, more rain. Temperatures staying pretty close to average for this time of year. But I don't see any more unusually warm weather past the 3rd of November for the majority region of Europe. So that being said, okay, I think Mari took off, so never mind. But anyway, I want to do shout outs here. Matt, of course, thank you for joining us once again. David, welcome to the show. Laura, good to see you out there. Dorothy Rose, Matthew McDonald, also a pleasure to see you. Edward Thompson, seeing a lot of faces out here I recognize. Very enthusiastic gardener, hello. Hello. And many, many others here, folks. We appreciate the support. We are not on as much as we would like to be. Hopefully, we're gonna shoot to do another show tomorrow. Hello to Jerome as well. It'd be nice to have one for tomorrow. At the very latest, we'd like to be back on the air by Wednesday with another grand solar minimum update. But that is all we have for tonight. We hope everyone has a great evening. Please share and like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, but share this with like-minded people. That way we can get them the truth on the climate as far as what the sun does to our planet when it comes to climate, weather, volcanic activity, and earthquake activity. It all adds up. And this is the answer. So if anything, we're pointing them in the right direction. They'll start their own research and find other resources as well, and we'll see the correlations eventually. So thanks for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. That's going to do it for me tonight. Until next time, guys, we will talk soon. Take care.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.